Thank you for staying with us. Well, the Central Bank of Nigeria announced that all valid Forex backlogs have now been settled. And we understand that all of those claims sum up to something in the region of $7 billion. Now, it leads to the questions around Nigeria's fiscal and monetary policies and how they affect, as we say, the price of bread. Marcelo Keke joins us this morning. As you have seen, he is a former chief economist with Zenith Bank. He joins us virtually from Lagos. Thanks for joining us this morning, Mr. Keke.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, there are those who wonder exactly what is going on. So the CBN governor had said that part of the strategy for boosting the economy is to restore investor confidence by clearing this kind of backlog and all of that. Question, natural first question is, in your opinion, does this really do the job?
Well, it's a good way to start. If they have done what he said they have done, the first thing is to say congratulations. The second thing is to now question the source or sources, such a amount within so short a time, with which they applied to, settling those huge backlog, Forex indebtedness, if you like. Okay, so, but since he has told us, as the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, we have no reason to doubt him and to say congratulations that that has been done. It is one of the very critical initial steps that must be taken, because it's like settling old indebtedness. And so once that is settled, it can now start the new journey of moving forward, without anything acting as an albatross kind of holding them down. So we want to believe him. And talking about confidence of investors or investor confidence restoration, it's a long journey, I must tell you. What he has done is just very first critical step of clearing the outstanding backlog of Forex transactions. But going forward, there's still a lot to do because, like I said, we don't know how the money they applied, we are sourced. And still going forward, the challenge in the Forex market is that of demand and supply. Some of us have not seen a sustainable supply of Forex to the market, in huge volumes to be able to stabilize the market as the authorities would expect and as prospective investors would expect. So, but having done what they have done so far, we have to wait and see. And that should be the position of investors also, to see whether the new situation or condition we're arriving at in terms of stability of the foreign exchange market and Naira appreciation against the dollar happening on a sustained and sustainable basis.
Well,
that should be our position now.
Naturally, someone is wondering how, in your opinion, is it relevant for Nigerians to know the way or how the CBN was able to come up with the $7 billion. Is it because we've been struggling with Forex availability over time? Why is it necessary for us to find out exactly what the source of that $7 billion that the CBN has cleared is?
It is critically important, absolutely necessary, that the public should know. Because this government so far has been having this, not having so much confidence of the investing public. And since the Naira was floated, the challenge of supplying Forex to the market, to have an equilibrium of demand and supply situation, that's what people are used to. So all of a sudden, the CBN comes up to say that the huge outstanding of $7 billion has been settled. Then you begin to wonder where this money has come from. Don't forget that at various points, the CBN governor, the Minister of Finance have mentioned that they were going to take up some loans from here and there. If the government is borrowing or any agency of government is borrowing, It is Nigeria that is borrowing, and so there should be nothing hidden about it. So if they borrowed from wherever to handle the situation they said they have handled, they should let the public know. Transparency is very, very important at every point in time in governance. And that will go a long way in giving credibility to the current government and the leadership of the central bank in particular. So nothing should be shrouded in secrecy. Nothing. So the earlier they let the public know the source or sources of the money, the better for them. And the more credible they will become, with the policy they'll be coming on with going forward. Thank you.
Okay, well, there are those who would also wonder exactly whether that is of any significance, really, because there is information out there that even though some businesses are folding up in the country, businesses are also coming into the country. A number of institutions are bringing their businesses back into the country. I saw a video, I don't know if you saw the same video, at the parliament in Ghana, where one of the parliamentarians there was lamenting that a particular business that was doing well for the country is moving back to Nigeria, one multinational company, moving back a particular segment of its business back into Nigeria. Wouldn't you see that as some demonstration of restored confidence in Nigeria's economy?
Well, thank you again for this question. What you are saying is an isolated case. What we've been experiencing in Nigeria, you can even call it an exodus of multinationals. And you know now, I don't need to go and start mentioning them. The latest one is that PZ Cousins that you know, over the decades in this economy wants to go. And Nigerian authorities, Securities and Exchange Commission and others are putting some kind of hurdles on their way, to having a smooth exit. You know about Procter and Gamble, okay? You know about others in the pharmaceutical sector. You know about the major oil companies that are living in droves and so on and so forth. So let's not go into that. Now, you had one saying what you said they have said does not cancel the fact that our environment is not competitive. You understand? Because if you talk about even cost of doing business in Nigeria, we are not competitive. Okay, that is one. And also when you look at the side of security or insecurity in the land, you then look at other conditions. You understand? So we know, and when you look at published, data, statistics from the National Bureau of Statistics in terms of foreign direct investment inflow, as we are speaking, you now see that rather than going up, FDI has been going down, in recent times, in recent years, in recent months. In the past 9 months, if you like, FDI has been going down, okay? And it is foreign direct investment that is at the core, of what you can call, what you can call real investment, okay? Yes, government has attracted some kind of foreign portfolio investment, which is called hot money. It's hot money because it's hovering all over the place looking for higher returns. And Nigeria, when it doesn't offer higher return in terms of interest rate, the money will move to elsewhere. And you should also know that we have for some time now had the challenge of when FPI, foreign portfolio investors come in, or other investors come in, when they want to move out, we don't have the dollar for them to move out, for them to cash out. You understand? So has that been settled? If it had been settled, why would we be talking about 7 billion, outstanding backlog and so on and so forth? You are familiar with this case of foreign airlines. As we speak, nobody has even specifically addressed that issue to say whether it's among the 7 billion that be settled or is still outstanding. So you have those cases. So when you talk about this one, somebody speaking from Ghana, it's an isolated case. But we pray that we begin to have more of that. That's what Nigeria needs now, more than ever before. That's investment inflow, whether it's coming from Ghana, or from wherever. We badly need investment inflow. And so that reproduction and productivity will increase in this economy. And then the availability of, their output will be here with us by way of handling inflation. Because when you have the necessary output here in the proper volume and quantity, it also, in a way, handle the issue of inflation. Thank you.
Well, perhaps still on that particular matter, there are those who believe that these issues that you have mentioned, very, very important, a risk to unemployment and a number of other things like that, and also the fact that the investment climate is quite a tough one in our country as at this moment. There are those who would say Nigeria is not also an isolated case. Take the example of some data that was put out by one of the officials of government, saying that compared to the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria's announcement of 767 companies that shut down last year, he also referenced the Small Business Advocacy Group in the UK, saying that 345,000 business closures in the country was recorded, more businesses closing down than starting up for the first time in 12 years. He also cited those in other countries like India and in China as well. In fact, those are in the region of 10,000, more than 10,000 businesses closing down for the first time in those countries, in those droves. So, yes, valid the issues that are going on in the country, but there are those like you as well who have also said Nigeria is not an isolated case in this matter.
Well, we may not be an isolated case, but every jurisdiction, every country has its peculiarities. We have peculiarities in Nigeria. What are our challenges are not necessarily the challenges in those jurisdictions you mentioned. Incidentally, you did not mention, some of the developing countries. Talk about UK and others. They are in their own, at their own level. But coming to our own level as a country, you still have the challenge, serious challenge of infrastructure here. Infrastructure. We are told whether yesterday or 2 days ago that the president approved over 450 billion Naira that will go into handling the power sector problem. This has been there over the years. Talking about power. If the manufacturers tell you how much of the expenditure that goes into power, sourcing power, then you will know what you understand better what we are talking about. I don't think it's a power challenge that caused those companies in the UK, to have gone out of business, to have shut down. You understand? In our own case, that's the situation. And then you come to multiplicity of taxation, taxes in this country. It may not be the same in other clients. Then you talk about the level of insecurity in Nigeria. It may not be the same in other clients. Then you talk about, some other bottlenecks in the bureaucracy. You want to get this approval. You want to get this certification. You want to get that. You want to get that from the government. What you go through as a manufacturer or as a business person. At the end of the day, many people get frustrated in terms of seeking the approval from the appropriate government quarters. I don't have the data now to tell you, some businesses that had to either leave this country or the ones that wanted to come in, but because of this kind of situation, had to go back. Okay? Go and check what happened to Virgin Atlantic when it wanted to set up here in Nigeria. They had a terrible experience in terms of the bureaucracy. People up there, whether permanent secretaries, directors, along the line, the kind of conditions they were asking and that and that. At the end of the day, that company has to leave Nigeria, frustrated. There are so many instances like that. So this is not exactly the same condition in those places you mentioned. So when businesses are shutting down here, are dying, or those who want to come in are not coming in, they know what they're talking about. Our condition here is terrible. Our condition here is terrible. So it's not the same with the condition in UK. For whatever reasons in UK, yes, companies could be shutting down. But our condition here, we tell ourselves the truth. The environment is that we're not competitive. You understand? And that is why most of the items that are imported into this economy do better than the ones that are produced locally here in terms of pricing. No matter how we try here to improve the quality and all that, but many products come into this country produced at cheaper costs where they are coming from. And so they outcompete the local ones in terms of pricing.
Well, Mr. Marcel, I think that indeed, we can do so much more in terms of our ease of doing business I mean, there's been how many government committees and even a whole institution now put in place to try and ease, you know, the way businesses work and, you know, run here in Nigeria. But it looks like there is still so much work to be done. And you've talked about one of the impediments, which is power, which, you know, at the end of the day makes a lot of the goods that we produce here rather uncompetitive. But as I was saying, in terms of, you know, global context and also local context, you've talked about FDIs and how, you know, we've seen a decline now over the years. But there's been a prediction that FDI should increase this year. There was a drop from 2022 to 2023, I think by as much as 26 or 27%. But that there's a prediction that it should increase this year. And so far, so good. Even in the manufacturing sector, it does appear that we're seeing an increase. It's been reported that I think it went up to $1.5 billion in the first quarter of 2024 by as much as $644 million. That is what the National Bureau of Statistics has reported so far. Now, how that is going to be sustained is not clear. We don't know, you know, whether we have enough, you know, firepower to keep it going, but it certainly, you know, should inspire some confidence. What I want to take you up on, and because you've also talked about how, you know, the CBN needs to be more transparent in terms of how it has met up this $7 billion backlog. And it doesn't seem like it met up all the $7 billion, because what we understand is that those that were valid, those who had concrete evidence and, you know, whose claims were valid, they attended to. Those whose own were not so valid, they have referred to the security agencies for more scrutiny. We do not know what volume of that has been referred and what volume of that has been cleared. But what I want to bring up is the fact that the dollar or the Naira seems to have appreciated a great deal, significantly, against the dollar for the last couple of days. From what we gather now at the parallel market, it's been around 1,500 Naira or so, from a low of about 1,900, approaching almost 2,000 Naira. Do you think that these two statements will then tally, given what it is that the CBN has said and what people are experiencing on this market? I don't know what it's like at the, is it E and X window or so, but the parallel market is what we are able to, you know, immediately see. From what you see in those other markets, the official windows, would you say that what they're seeing there is tallying with some of the things that the central bank is saying?
I may not have the statistics you have or you were referring to, but the truth is that the challenge we have in the foreign exchange market, where we are told the forces of demand and supply determines the exchange rate, is the point that there is so much demand. You understand? And so there is also the problem of scarcity, inadequacy of supply. So all of a sudden, the Central Bank of Nigeria tells us that they have been able to clear backlog. And that's why we are curious. We want to know. And they're telling us exactly where that money comes from. We do them a lot of good. And we do the Nigerian economy a lot of good. You understand? Then, on the other hand, as to the appreciation in the past few days of the Naira, for the Naira to have crashed, you know, being on a tailspin, so to speak, in the past 9 months, and got into, like you said, up to close to 2,000 Naira to $1. I mean, it's a serious cause for worry. So if it has now appreciated to 1,500, 1,600, it's not yet cause for celebration. We rather have to keep our fingers crossed and keep praying that it keeps coming down, because we know where we were as at end May 2023 and where we are now. And the havoc the volatility has caused this economy, you know, at individual, family, and business and government levels, you know. So it's too early for anybody to begin to celebrate when a Naira comes to 1,500, 1,600 and all that. And that's why we're talking about sustainability in terms of supply, increasing the volume of Forex, you know, being supplied to the market. okay, or coming up with policies that will deal with some frivolous demands, if those demands are discovered. But the truth is that the CBN, you know, and other agencies should do more to discover those who are really posing a problem to this economy, like the Binances of this world that were discovered by the CBN recently. There are others like that. So more of them should be discovered and dealt with. You understand? Either properly, officially regulated properly, and the activities checked and supervised. You understand? So when that is done, you know, all those illegal or harmful practices or malpractices in the forex market would have been handled. And then we have a decent, you know, stable market. If it's stabilizing at 1,500, we don't know. So that businesses will have confidence to know that when they are planning, look at what we are planning with. If it comes down to now 1,000, we will all know, you know, not this one that is moving like a yo-yo, like you said. In the past 2 days, it will do as if it's appreciating. In the next few days, it will be as if it's collapsing and all that. Nobody likes such a situation. Not even businesses, not even individuals. So we hope the Naira will consistently begin to strengthen. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Okeke. What I would also like to, I mean, we know that in the next couple of days or so, sometime between March 26th or March 25th and 26th, the central bank is due to have another monetary policy committee meeting, and we're looking forward to another brief by the CBN governor. Maybe there will be, you know, some talk about how the federal government or how the CBN has been able to meet this backlog. But I think that it's really important that you have underscored your call for transparency. However, the question I was posing was that given what we're currently seeing in the market, given some of the things that we're seeing, can we take that as a proof that indeed, perhaps, maybe is as a result of that, we're seeing the Naira appreciate against the dollar?
We may not attribute the appreciation of the Naira against the dollar to the monetary policies taken by the central bank so far. We may not. And that is why it is very, very important that the central bank itself makes public, you know, the source or sources, you know, from where the money came for it to have cleared the backlog. You understand? Rather than the policies, monetary policies in recent time, helping to clear it, it kind of created more problems, you know? Because if you look at monetary policy rate, for example, being moved up by 400 basis points, that has never happened in this economy. It has never happened. From 18.75 to 22.75. You understand? It's an indicative rate. And it now told the deposit money banks, move up your interest rate to 30% plus. When you look at that, which kind of businesses that are legal, will function and survive when they take loans at over 30% from commercial banks? You know, and should any business bother to take that? That's part of the competitiveness we are talking about in this economy. If you must recognize it, that kind of level of interest rate. If you're a business and you take loan at that rate, by the time you factor that cost of fund into your production, you understand, and you finish producing and supply to the consumer, the commodity or the goods items coming in from outside, the imported one, will definitely outcompete you. If you factor that, it's part of the inflation we're talking about. That is cost push inflation. The cost of doing business here would have, you know, pushed through the roof, so that the ultimate consumer will be in a position to suffer this kind of situation of high prices of everything. That is what that policy will reflect in. But, and the other one of CRR, you know, cash reserve ratio being raised to 45% is also counterproductive, because what it means is that the money that should have been left to the banks for them to lend out to businesses, you understand, and other, you know, economic agents, they are now constrained, because if somebody deposits 1,000, for example, with a bank, it means 45% of that should be left with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Oh, Well, Mr. Okeke, what I wanted
So how much are they left with to do business, to lend out to the public?
Those are other aspects, I mean, of the monetary policy. I mean, usually when the CBN governor briefs, he talks about that which is the key issue and also talks about Forex, which is what we're talking about, the fact that the central bank has been able to clear Forex demand. I mean, that certainly should reduce pressure on people who are looking for Forex to be able to do one thing or the other. I think that's the question I was asking you. But since you've already gone to monetary policy, you know,
if I must answer you that,
yeah,
that is cleared backlog. That is cleared the backlog.
Yes.
Does not in any way reduce the pressure. Because just like the name says, backlog. That is something done in the past. You understand? So it doesn't have any current impact. And that is why transparency should be the name of the game. So that is why they should tell us where they got the money from. And the earlier they do that, the better for them. So that there should be credibility. You know, it's not the voodoo business. Okay. You understand? It shouldn't be carried in any secrecy. Thank you.
Okay, now that we've gone to MPR, also looking at, you know, what it is that the central bank governor did say in the last briefing about how much, you know, was now in the economy. And I think a number of people have also been monitoring the amount of cash that has been released to the economy. What tools would you have suggested that the central bank use? Because I mean, the CBN governor, we are still, I think the Senate now has set up a committee to investigate the 30 trillion naira given in ways and means. And the central bank governor also said another 10 trillion naira was given in interventions by the central bank. All of it coming to about 40 trillion naira released into the Nigerian economy over a period of a year or so. What tools would, which some people say is exactly what has caused the inflation that we're witnessing right now, what tools would you have suggested are available to the central bank for it to be able to control, you know, what is inflation that seems to be running away with the wind?
Thank you very much for this question. Let me tell you that when you look at inflation, there are so many factors that are responsible for the hyperinflationary trend we have in Nigeria. So many factors. And it's the Central Bank of Nigeria, in all honesty, is not in a position to single-handedly, you know, tame or tackle inflation. It will be foolhardy for them to be thinking like that. You understand? So the fiscal side, which is the government, must be working in tandem with the central bank, with the monetary authorities, you know, for inflation to be effectively tackled. But that seems not to be the situation now. So it's not a question of two. The central bank, I must tell you, is handicapped. It has limited tools, you know, with which to tackle inflation. I have told you how they raised the MPR by 400 basis points to 22.75. Wait and see the impact of that. And I have told you that that has now raised interest lending rate by commercial banks through the roof, if you like, and making funds unavailable to, you know, the investing public or businesses. You understand? So will the central bank go again at another monetary policy committee meeting and continue to raise the MPR from 22.75 now, maybe to 25 and up and up? No. That will not fight. That will not effectively fight inflation. Okay. You understand? So that is why there's need for it to collaborate. It's like it's working in silo. It's working alone. You understand? And that's why we always be asking, what is the overarching plan of the government, you know, regarding every aspect of the economy? Not the Central Bank of Nigeria will be doing its work on one side, and the fiscal authorities will be doing another thing on the other side. As a matter of fact, some fiscal policies do act as counterpoints, you know, to the policies of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Okay, because we're almost out of time here, I was going to ask you this question about, yes, you mentioned this is about the second or third time you talked about the CBN working in isolation, sort of working in silos. I was going to ask you, what should be the way forward now, seeing that the fiscal policy and monetary policy needs to come together to be able to move Nigeria's economy forward? If we go by what the CBN was quoted in their statement, saying that all they've done so far is to seek to restore confidence in the Nigerian economy, seek to restore confidence that Nigeria is able to meet up with all of its forex demands, as the case may be. What should be done now or going forward? What kind of policies should we be looking at to see the economy moving on the right track?
Thank you. The kind of policy we want to see, one, is that the government should decisively deal with insecurity. That is one. Two, is that the problem of foreign exchange is as a result of inadequacies of supply. And the mainstay of this economy, everybody knows at this point in time, is oil. And so government should do everything humanly possible to secure that sector and make sure that we maximize whatever we can get from oil. That is still the mainstay of the economy. But as we speak, the oil sector is beleaguered. The oil sector is endangered, kind of. You understand? And that is why for quite some time now, we have been unable to improve significantly our production and therefore export and sell. What is the meaning of crude oil theft? Crude oil theft. The former president the other day told us that about 80% of what is produced is still being stolen. Obasanjo said so. President Olusegun Obasanjo said so. You know, it's in the public space. So if 80% of what is produced is stolen, what are you exporting? 20%? And what are you making from that? Okay, what else is to be exported for us to make a Forex, you know, to bring to the market? And that is why we are saying that the CBN should be more transparent to tell us how it came across 7 billion or whatever to defray the backlog and all that. It's very important because we are still worried by what is happening in the oil sector, you know. So let me stop here.
Well, Mr. Marcel Okeke, I know that this conversation is an ongoing one. As long as our economy is where it is, we certainly will be needing your analysis. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. We've been speaking with Mr. Marcel Okeke, a former chief economist for Zenith Bank. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Well.